What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in. It is one TS Daily live right here at One True Sport. I am Zack Heydorn. I'm from Sports Illustrated. I'm from Brass Ring Media. You can catch me a lot of places today on the road as usual because it's a Tuesday. And on Tuesdays, we do this show from a variety of different locations. But it's good to be here. Thanks so much if you are joining me live on YouTube. Appreciate you being here for sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are listening to us and watching us today on Twitter, appreciate you as well. Could not do this show without you guys, and thank you for hitting play. This is One TS Daily. We are live every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, right around this time. Sometimes it's a little bit later, sometimes it's a little bit earlier, but 9 times out of 10, it's right now 11 Eastern. And we talk the news of the day in professional wrestling, and we talk all the major happenings. We talk all the major news and nuggets and shows that are going on, and have an absolute blast. We also want to take your questions and your comments and your thoughts. So to do that, I've got the live chat open, and it is rolling right now. So if you have a topic that you want us to discuss today, if you have a question that you want to ask, if you have any kind of comment on what I'm saying or analysis that I'm giving, definitely drop it in there because this show is the best when we get to interact back and forth, and it is my favorite part about it, without question. So Amy's in the chat already, and she says, on the go Tuesday. That's right, on the go Tuesday. Can you guys hear what's going on behind me? Lots of ambulances and fire trucks out there, of course. You know, sitting here for like 10 minutes and it's nothing. Clean as a whistle. And now, of course, we turn on, go live, and, the sirens through. I mean, that's just, par for the course. But hopefully you can hear that. And actually, hopefully everybody's okay out there. Regarding those sirens. But thanks, Amy. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good day, and hopefully you have a good Tuesday. All right, let's just get down to business so that we don't lose track of our 25 minutes that we got together here. Let's talk last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. Pretty good show. The first of 2 shows that they were going to tape for the night. So they had the live show first, and then after that, they taped next week's Raw. So I think a lot of what you saw on this week's show, if it felt a little bit rushed, in terms of getting to matches the following week, well, that's why, because they needed to tape them, and so they needed to get there. With that said, I want to just start off. We will not be talking about spoilers on this show. Spoilers are silly, right? I mean, if you want them, more power to you. They're out there. But we are going to talk about the happenings of Raw this week, spoiler-free of results from next week. So if you're making comments in the chat, if you're making comments in the super chats, which are open, by the way, please refrain from spoilers. We want to have a spoiler-free show here. Andrew H is in here. What's up, Andrew? Thanks so much for being here, man. Andrew says, why tape the show? I don't know the exact reason, Andrew, but my guess is they're on the road somewhere international next week. And so because of that, rather than tape Raw internationally and just do that whole thing, they're just pre-recorded. They did it a couple weeks ago in early October, same type of deal. So I don't know where they're headed, but my guess is that's the situation in regards to why they're taping the show. And trust me, I don't think WWE likes to tape these shows, right? I think that they would much rather have the shows be live. I mean, especially now with TKO and like just how much they're investing, into the live side of the business. They want these shows to be live. So there's a good reason for that. I'm sure. All right, but last night, let's start off with the 5th man. Who's the fifth man? We haven't had a good pro wrestling mystery in quite some time, and they always work pretty well. I mean, they always do, and this one is intriguing. I thought this week, Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso kind of huddling up and trying to work to figure out, like, okay, who the heck can we have as part of our team? Nobody wants to side with us. Was an interesting touch. I think it's kind of, it puts a realistic spin and focus on the reality of the Bloodline story. And the reality of that story is that group was terrible to people on the roster, Roman Reigns in particular. Who would want to help them, right? Um, and so I think it's good not to ignore that. Like, I think it's good not to just ignore the reality of the last 4 years, which was the Bloodline terrorized both rosters. And this played into that. I thought Sami Zayn's pitch to Seth Rollins was a good one. But I like Seth's response. I like Seth just going, hey, absolutely not. And thanks for asking, but no thanks. Not going to be partnering up with Roman Reigns anytime soon. I know him too well, et cetera, et cetera. I also like Seth later in the show being courted by Solo Sikoa saying, hey, I'm never going to team with Roman Reigns anymore, but I'm not teaming with a wannabe Roman Reigns either. That's a heck of a line. That's a really good line. And then further on top of that, you get some more intrigue with Jimmy Uso kind of appearing like he's courting Braun Breaker. So that's interesting. Breaker really has no connection at all to the Bloodline story. And maybe that's the point, right? Like, hey, anybody that we have experience with and a relationship with, none of them are going to say yes to this because they all hate us. Breaker, he's kind of a mercenary at this point. He hasn't been here. He doesn't know any better, but he's good. So maybe that could be a reason why that angle is gonna move forward. So the bottom line is, I think they have a lot of different tentacles that they can follow, a lot of different roads here that they can go down. We'll talk about like fifth man predictions here in a minute for both teams, but my overall point is, so for as much as I liked what they did this week with the fifth man, at some point they have to get this storyline back to Bloodline faction versus Bloodline faction. Like, I think that's a key part of this. Like, up till this point, the story really has been about the old Bloodline coming back together. And that's been a big chunk of what's happening. Now we've got the fifth man. At some point, you got to bring it back to faction versus faction. Why are these guys fighting? Why do they hate each other so much? What is what's on the line, here in terms of stakes when these Bloodline factions collide? That all has to be ironed out. So I'm in on the fifth man thing. I think it's a good storyline, and I just hope it doesn't play out too long, and we get a definitive answer, and then we can get back to really building out and finishing, or like adding a major chapter onto this bloodline angle and this bloodline story. So that's my hope. Now, who could who could be the fifth man for both of these teams? Like, who makes the most sense? Well, I mean, I think it's a short list of like 3 people: Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and I'd argue like CM Punk. I think that those 3 guys, I think, make the most sense. Why? Well, Cody's Cody. He's the WWE champion. He's got history with Roman Reigns. He also has history with that Bloodline faction. That makes sense. Seth Rollins, well, he's got history with Roman Reigns. He's a good Raw star, top talent. Doesn't have anything clear to do at Survivor Series either. CM Punk, Paul Heyman guy. A guy that Paul Heyman has access to. And Paul Heyman, obviously, we know, is a part of this whole story. So that makes sense. So I think it's going to be one of those three guys. The Braun Breaker thing is interesting. but does it really have its place? Does he fit at this point in time? Like, I don't know. I'd argue, probably not. I'm gonna move over here because that sunlight is bright. All right, here we go. Sunlight is bright. Um, so yeah, so I'd argue that just Braun Breaker just doesn't fit the way you'd want him to fit, at this point in time. So um, I don't think that you're going to see that. On the other side, on the Solo Sokoa side of the house, I mean, that's where you really have to wonder, like who is it going to be? I mean, Bronson Reed, I think, is going to be a name that comes up quite a bit because of Seth Rollins' name popping up. Like Seth's involvement connects Bronson Reed to this and gives Solo Sokoa a reason to court Bronson to join their team. Also, I think Bronson Reed fits just from a match perspective, like War Games. I mean, you got to think, or I don't know. I'd imagine that they'd plan some kind of big tsunami spot off the top of the cage that they're going to look for that kind of moment in that match itself, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. So he's going to be a name that pops up. I think Hikuleo is going to be a name that pops up, even though I don't think that's what they'll do. He'll be a name that pops up. He's been connected to this Bloodline faction for a while. He's been signed to WWE for a while, but hasn't really made a debut. That faction, Solo Sokoa's faction, is all about kind of like the young guns coming together, right? And so I think Hikuleo would make a lot of sense there. And then finally, the other name that should be tossed around, in my opinion, is The Rock. Like Rock, at some point he's going to get involved in this bloodline thing again. He's the final boss. He's went face to face with Cody and Roman at Bad Blood. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. Look, whether Rock is going to wrestle at WrestleMania or not, it's inevitable that he gets connected back into this whole story. To me, if Rock is somehow the fifth man, I mean, not only does it make the match huge, but it allows for the other stuff to happen. It's a foundational point where you can build Cody and Rock, Roman and Rock can all stem from this match in particular. So those would be my three that I would pick on the other side. But since I'm picking Seth Rollins to be the guy on Team Roman Reigns, I guess I'll go with Bronson Reed to be on team Solo Sikoa. So we'll go with that. All right. Well, what are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to be the fifth man? Again, no spoilers. So drop your comments in the chat, though. I want to get to some of these if I can. Who is the fifth man for both teams at Survivor Series War Games? All right. Also this week, let's talk about Damian Priest. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, look how far he has come the last 9 months or 10 months of his career. Like, it's impressive. I mean, it's really impressive what he's done. Last night on Raw, he's the most over babyface on the show. I mean, Jey Uso wasn't out there, so take that as you may. Seth, very over, of course, but I think there's more of a passion around what Priest is doing. To be completely honest with you, he is a believable babyface. He's genuine. He's likable, and I think he's found his voice, and he has a presence now. He has a main event level presentation now. He's clicking. He's clicking for the first time, and it's really cool to see. He's holding things down, and the Raw show really kind of needs like a fresh babyface like him. I think he's working really well to that end, and the crowd reaction was there for him last night. Credit to Gunther too. It kind of goes without saying at this point, I think. But Gunther, it's sold for Damian Priest, and not in like the physical sense, not in terms of like, oh, he punched me and I'm going to sell this punch, just in like the presence sense, where you've got Damian Priest out there talking to Gunther about how there's doubt in Gunther's mind, how the loss to Cody Rhodes messed with his psyche. And you see Gunther like selling that in the moment as Priest is saying it, not in an over the top way, not in a way that doesn't do enough to drive home the points that Damian Priest is making. He hit the note perfectly where you look at him and you go, man, he's faking confidence right now. Like, yes, he's acting like he's confident. Yes, he's acting like the comments don't bother him, but they do. And you can see that in his eyes too. It's just wonderful work. It's wonderful, body language. It's smart facial expressions. And it helped make the moment. It helped make the segment, but it also helped make the match, helped make the feud. It helped made this match mean more. I like Damian Priest tossing out there the narrative of, hey, I didn't have the confidence to beat you last time, straight up. Like, if I'm being honest with myself, like, that's what you want from your baby faces. You want honesty. You want integrity. You want them to talk real to the audience. And he did that this week. And I think that there's an authenticity there that is likable, and I think that's good for him to hit those notes. So I thought Priest did great. I thought obviously the match with Ludwig Kaiser was what it was. It was a match to feature Damian Priest, no question about that. But that's what has to happen. I mean, you've got to shine him up as much as you can, right? Like, he's going to be in a world title match against Gunther, and I don't think he's going to win the championship, but you certainly want to make it seem like he could. You want to make it seem like he might win the championship, right? So you got to put all the juice that you can behind that, and I thought they did, and that match, was a fine match. Ludwig Kaiser did the job. That's his role. Ludwig Kaiser, I think, has upside, no question, but now it's just not the time. It's not his time, for better or worse. If it should be his time, okay, we can have that discussion. It's not his time right now, and so because of that, you're going to see him do jobs like these, and that's that. So a good night for Damian Priest, and I like that match for Survivor Series. They had a good match last time out. No reason to think they won't this time as well. All right, a couple other Raw notes here. What's going on with the Wyatt Six? Like, I find it so difficult to buy into what they're doing. And there's really one reason why. And I wrote about this over at Brass Ring Media this morning. I wrote about this for Sports Illustrated last night. The Uncle Howdy mask is ridiculous. I mean, it really is god awful. Like, seeing that mask on Bo Dallas with the bright lights on and the audience all around him, it's just like an ugly green nothing. He looks like a silly 8-year-old kid in a costume. Like, what are we doing here? Like, in a bad Halloween costume at that. I think in the dark, when the lights are off and you can use special effects and you can go into post-production and produce some stuff, okay, I think it's a cool looking mask. I do. But then lights come on and it totally takes away from the gimmick, totally takes away from the act. Yesterday, they have this big brawl with the Final Testament, right? And they get beat up. And you've got Bo Dallas like laughing at the end, right? Maniacally. And as I wrote in my article for Brass Ring Media today, like, I was laughing too, but not, kind of at him because he looks so ridiculous. Gotta fix it. And you gotta make it more believable and less goofy. And I don't know. It just really fell flat and continues to fall flat. And I think it presents him as less than what he's trying to be and counteracts the gimmick. Now, I do like Wyatt Six against Final Testament. I think that's a smart play. I think that's a smart move. I think that's exactly where this group should be on the card, and they're going to get something out of this match. maybe a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, maybe like another, street fight type of thing on Raw. But either way, this is how you should use the Wyatt Six. They got to get that howdy presentation like buttoned up. It ain't good. It ain't good. And last but not least, I think we're on our way to a we're on our way to a women's War Games match. Like that seems to me like that was the point of the main event last night. Let's get all the women that we can, lined up opposite sides, and so they can collide at War Games. Kind of a weak way to end your main event, especially with the WWE Women's World Championships on the line. If you want those titles to matter, you got to make them matter, and they're constantly an afterthought. In this case, to build a War Games match just because it's November, those titles have a ceiling on, even if they are around the waist of two big stars like Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So that's something to think about if you're WWE. Just pretty chaotic main event, and obviously Cargill and Bianca Belair retained, but really those titles are an afterthought, even in a main event like that. So kind of thumbs down on that one for me. All right, that's Raw. That's Monday Night Raw. Last night, last night was a fun show. Fun show, top to bottom, and see what the ratings do. I know they had the NFL game wasn't all that close, but there was some NBA competition as well. So we'll see. We'll talk tomorrow about how Raw did in the old ratings game. But that leaves us with NXT to preview. A couple big matches on this week's show. Cedric Alexander is going to face Wes Lee, with the winner heading to the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge match at NXT Deadline, coming up here in a few weeks. Sol Ruca will take on Cora Jade, and there's a slot in the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge match on the line in that one. I don't expect Cedric Alexander to be a part of the Iron Survivor Challenge. So Wesley, come on up. This is you. This says you written all over it. The Sol Ruca Cora Jade match. Now that one is interesting. That one's really interesting. And it kind of tells me that like there may be some kind of like last chance match to get into Iron Survivor Challenge at some point. Both of these women have to be in this match, if you ask me. So Ruka is an up and coming talent, and somebody that could just do really cool stuff in the Iron Survivor Challenge match environment. So you got to have her involved. And Cora Jade is like a top heel in the company or on the brand. So she's got to be in it too. So interesting to see how they book this, but I think Cora Jade's going to win this match. But I would imagine Sol Ruca finds her way back into the fold with this Iron Survivor Challenge stuff. Trick Williams is going to be on the show. I think here's where you get your Ridge Holland, Trick Williams rivalry started, or feud started if it's not started already. I think you'll see that here. I'm looking at a heat segment for Ridge Holland, maybe leaving Trick Williams laying. But that's on deck for tonight. And then in the main event, Women's North American Championship on the line. Kalani Jordan. Oh my gosh. Fallon Henley, Kalani Jordan versus Fallon Henley. Kalani Jordan challenging for the NXT North American Championship, the title that she lost to Fallon Henley. I'm interested to see what these two women do. Both have come a long way, in 3 years since they've kind of made their debuts. So this is going to be interesting to see. I'd imagine that Kalani Jordan gets the title back here. I don't know what the benefit is to having the belt around the waist of Fallon Henley at this point in time. And one of the three big signees is going to turn heel, right? Whether it's Julia or whether it's Stephanie Vecchur or whether it's Zarya, one of them's going to turn heel. And I predict that it's Zarya. And if it is, you're going to want her to go after, a title. And I think her against Kalani Jordan is a nice pay-per-view match for the Women's North American Championship. So I'm I'll take Kalani Jordan here in this one, but only semi confidently. Only semi confidently. All right, guys, we'll wrap up there. Awesome show. Thanks to everybody who participated in the chat. Amy and Andrew and Simon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you want to hear more from me, you can head over to Brass Ring Media on YouTube and check out our YouTube channel. We're live all throughout the week on YouTube. Long form, that's kind of our style over at Brass Ring Media, so you can check that out. Subscribe. I think you'll like what you hear there. You can also get all of our live Brass Ring Media shows as podcasts. So I encourage you guys to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and you can just get all of our content right to your mobile devices and take us on the go. It's real easy and it's totally free. We also run a newsletter every day. It's a fun newsletter because it's all editorial and it's all features. So for a great team of writers, I write for that a lot. And so you can check that out totally free on Substack. Please head over there and subscribe. I think you'll, again, like what we do. Totally free. Just search Brass Ring Media Substack in your Google device will be the first thing that comes up. And you can check out our work that way. Cool. All right, guys, thank you once again. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. And yeah, we'll catch you all right back here tomorrow for a little NXT talk, some AEW Dynamite preview chat, and or chatter, I should say, and analysis of all the news that comes up. Thank you so much. This is 1TS Daily, live here at One True Sport. I'm Zack Heydorn. Talk to you soon. See ya.